And we are live with another episode of Comic Talk. It's that show brought to you by the Keeg where we talk about this week's new comic book releases, whether they're DC, whether they're Marvel, whether they're Image or Massive or any other indie company. We are here to talk about everything that we read. I'm your host, Dimithri Perera. And once again, it's been a couple weeks since we had this show, so let me just remind everybody that new comic books come out on Wednesdays, and we read as much as we can in 24 hours and come here every Thursday, other than the last couple Thursdays, every Thursday to talk about everything that we read. If you're watching us live, you're watching us on twitch.tv/The Keeg Show or youtube.com/The Keeg Show, or maybe you're listening to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. But either way, I got to introduce my guests. First up, we got Ethan, a.k.a. Virgo Blade. Ethan, what's up, man? Welcome back.
What up, what up? Thanks, glad to be here. Ready to talk about some comics?
I feel like we all got that in common, right?
I think so. I think I know that about you.
Yeah. I feel like this is just the most specific show that I have under the Keeg podcast umbrella. And like, we're very specifically what we are. Are we here to talk about comics from 20 years ago? No, we're talking about comics from like 20 minutes ago, you know?
True that.
Just the most up-to-date comic stuff, sometimes too up-to-date. Sometimes
fresh, my comics are still hot. They're still like off the presses.
Hot off the presses. They burn your tongue, you know?
Yes.
Burn your eyes? Maybe burn your eyes. Hot off the presses,
eyes.
burning your eyes. Burning your fingers. Yeah.
Your retinas, your fingertips, all that.
It's just burning everything. You know, so be careful. Be careful out there. But Ethan, I'm glad to have you back. Especially partnered up with Drew, aka Drew Deficit, spelled with a silent X.
Hello. Listen, I don't want to burn my eyes, so I actually I'm not here to talk about comics today. I am specifically here to talk about campaign finance reform.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yay or nay?
Oh, yay.
Okay.
There has to be a reformation of the way that we fund political campaigns in this country.
Mm-hmm. But
I concur.
But you're yay for money.
Is somebody giving me money?
I don't know. I'm just fucking with you. I don't know what look, I'm here to talk about comics, man.
My Cash App is Drew X Deficit. Please send money.
Okay. So you are
for campaign reform.
I mean, I got to, if I had my way, there would be no monetary system in general. Everything would be done through trades and bartering.
Oh, but interesting. I would say that I like what the Federation does in Star Trek. You know, where it's so far in the future. It's so basic. Wait, are you familiar with Star Trek?
I have seen maybe an episode of Star Trek ever. And I've seen the J.J. Abrams movies, and that's it.
Interesting. Okay, fair. Ethan, are you familiar?
I am recently familiar, so I don't feel like I can fully call myself a Trekkie, even though like I've seen like a good chunk of stuff, but I haven't seen everything. So yes, I do watch Star Trek.
Okay. I got into Star Trek when the J.J. Abrams movies were about to come out. I did a little bit of prep work, then I watched the movies, fell in love with the movies. And that's the movies that people don't like, but I like them. And so they got me into the other Star Trek stuff. Anyway, long story short, it's in a utopian future, or a semi-utopian future, because as, you know, things happen. But it's predicated on the fact that, like, mankind on Earth went to war for World War III, and a lot of people died. And then only after that could we push towards, like, scientific advancement.
No, okay.
Like, well, only after the big tragedy.
Let's get this war started.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't make it.
That's Ozymandias, the situation.
Yeah. Oh, don't get you guys both started on talking about Watchmen.
No, we should.
You're right. Spend a whole special series just Watchmen.
Yeah. No thanks.
I'm gonna be talking about some Watchmen stuff today, so.
Well, yeah, there is a book that's out that is kind of touches on some stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. We're gonna go over what we read this week once I can I can give me a quick second, and I'm gonna do this. Oh yeah, there we go. All right, so what did you guys read? What did you guys read this week? Who wants to go first?
Please.
I shall go.
right.
So this week I read Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 12,
Mm-hmm.
Psylocke issue number 2, TVA issue number 1, Nightwing issue number 121, Green Lantern and Green Arrow World's Finest Special issue number 1, and Absolute Batman issue number 3, and New Gods issue number 1.
All right, that's a good chunk. Something that I noticed when I was doing my DC video today is that there's 19 DC comics that came out this week. It was a really heavy DC Comics week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think there was that much of Marvel. It's rare that DC outdoes Marvel in the number, like the quantity, but I think this week they did.
Yeah, I think so too. Because there really weren't that many books that I really wanted that much from Marvel, but yeah. I've been reading Psylocke. TVA was starting, and I really enjoyed Loki, so that's what kind of got me into that. And then I was bullied into checking out Ultimate Spider-Man.
Who bullied you? Did I bully you?
Yes, no. But I felt not judged per se, but how I mentioned that I don't really get into the Ultimate universe because I'm still catching up with Marvel proper. In my kind of mind, I have things in a certain order, but I have heard good things about Ultimate Spider-Man, and it sounded interesting with the month to month relating to kind of our current reality, which is giving 52 weekly series. So I figured I'd give it a try.
Okay. I do think Ultimate Spider-Man is the most reader friendly out of the Ultimate Marvel titles, but I do think all the Marvel titles are firing on all cylinders right now. Absolute DC is doing great. I think both of them are doing pretty well. They're trying to accomplish different things, I think, but they're both doing pretty well. But okay, that's a good list. Drew, you want to go or you want me to go?
I will go.
Okay.
I read Wonder Woman 16, Absolute Batman 3, Nightwing 121, Batman and Robin Year 1, number 3, the Green Lantern, Green Arrow, World's Finest Special, New Gods, number 1, The Question All Along the Watchtower, number 2, Challengers of the Unknown, number 1, and The Power Fantasy, issue number 5.
Okay, very nice. I read, what did I read? A lot of overlap. TVA number 1, for the most part. I do have some thoughts about it, and that's why I didn't really read it very well. I read Nightwing 121. I read Green Lantern, Green Arrow, World's Finest Special, Absolute Batman 3, Ultimate Spider-Man 12, Batman Superman World's Finest 34, Dark Knights of Steel All Winter 6, The Rockefellers, which is from Image Comics, Ghost Machine imprint, The Rockefellers number 2, Titans 18, Wonder Woman 16, Spectacular Spider-Man 10, Plastic Man No More 4, Helverine number 1, and Batman 89 Echoes number 5. Yeah, that's it. Okay.
Nice list.
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap between all of us. And there were still a lot of books that I didn't get to read that I really wanted to check out. Unless you guys say some of the books that you read suck, and then I'll stay away, because there's just a lot of books this week. I'll read some on the weekend and, figure that out. But, okay, here's the question, though. What's the pick of the week?
Mine is New Gods. That was a banger. It was a cosmic banger. It was a tall order, and the order was served. I thoroughly enjoyed this book.
It's Ram V, right?
Correct. Yes. He always cooks, and he really cooked up something special with this one. I enjoy Jack Kirby. I feel like it's an impossible mountain to reach. But he definitely did his thing on this book. I just love the writing, of course. He never misses when it comes to like the poetry, like just the absolute beauty of his words that are chosen. It always feels like right. And it just fits what the New Gods are, especially like post all in absolute universe. I'm very curious about how the dynamics of this system is operating.
I tried to read it, and I have a thing. I love New Gods, but I love Kirby to an extent as long as I can understand him. But there was a lot of writing on this, and I had, a stack of books I got to read, and I'm like, do I want to spend 3 times the amount of time trying to process this one book, or like bang out 3 other books?
No, you want to spend 3 times the amount trying to process this one.
I was trying to go quantity over quality. I want, same goes with Power Fantasy number 5, because I've read the other 4.
Mhm.
I couldn't, like, I was like, I can't process
I
both of these two right now.
I missed issue 4 of that last week, so I had to like dig through my archives, which is really just piles of books that I have around my house. And I found 4, had to read it, and then I read 5 real quick.
Mm.
But New Gods was the first thing that I read this week because I was so excited for it.
I'm very excited for it too, but
It
tell me it gets, like, it's worth it even with all the words.
Yeah,
Okay. Look, I need you to appreciate Ram V. Like he's putting his heart and soul into that, like in everything that he does, from Swamp Thing to Detective Comics. It's like, and I appreciate when a writer really like puts everything that they have in. So like it doesn't feel too much to me. I think of like Christopher Nolan and Oppenheimer. It's like people think that that's like a very dense story, and maybe it is, but it's so good, and he puts so much attention to detail that it's hard not to appreciate his masterwork. And that's what I feel like with New Gods. Like I don't see it as like, yes, it's high concept, it's maybe a lot of writing. It's hard for me to tell because everything feels like it has a purpose and a place.
Okay.
So I say definitely stick with it. I really enjoy stories on a cosmic scale. I think that they're very hard to pull off sometimes because of the detachment that people can have, but in actuality, like that's what was so great about Jack Kirby, is that he still made it feel grounded, even though these are the most, universal cosmic stories ever. But he always had like resonant themes all throughout his work, and that's what I feel like is within here. So I say definitely stick with it, try it again, and appreciate the majesty.
I'm gonna push through. I just
Okay.
couldn't do it with the countdown clock ticking. Um,
Understandable.
but I do love the New Gods, and I really wanted the Ava DuVernay movie that was supposed to come out and didn't come out. Like,
yeah, I was excited about that too.
I wanted a fresh new. I want a cinematic New Gods. Here's a question: Is this first issue? It's only first issue. And it's a question for both of you. Is this book more literary or more cinematic?
I feel like it's an equal measure.
That's
That's
what
my
that's exactly what I was going to say.
yeah, that's that's my I mean, because I feel like by nature, because you're dealing with New Gods and in the cosmos, like there is this cinematic aspect to it, but it never feels like it's paper thin, like because the literary, you're dealing with Ram V, who I feel like is just a very talented writer who cares about what he's placing. It doesn't feel like he's just trying to fill up the page. And I feel like that's why it always hits the mark for me personally, is because it feels well thought out. I understand the story that he's telling. It's not like he's just like putting in a bunch of words that don't mean anything. Like I love the dynamic between Metron and Highfather and Orion and Mr. Miracle, and them have it. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it, but
Yeah.
but yeah, like I feel like it's a really good balance of both. That's my personal opinion.
Okay. Drew, you feel the same way?
I agree. There are did either of you read Dawn Runner?
No, but that's on my like list to read.
Which one's Dawn Runner?
Dawn Runner is the same creative team, Ram V and Evan Cagle. It was their Image book about mechs. and it's awesome.
Okay.
If it's like it's the same creative team, they're doing pretty similar stuff in terms of like the presentation. I mean, like Cagel's artwork is really cool, and that's what gives it that cinematic feel. Uh, even something as simple as like you mentioned Metron and Highfather, like having a conversation still feels really cool and really fun to look at when all they're doing is just talking. But on the other hand, like I really like there's almost sort of like two stories happening here. Um, so for like from that literary perspective, there is a really cool structure where it's like the big cosmic, Metron comes off of his chair. He's got his like goofy costume. Highfather, they're like out in space, right? Having this, this talk on like this grand scale. But then there's another part of the story that's just Orion and Mr. Miracle sitting on a bench talking to each other. But the fact that like the where the good writing comes in is like how those feel like those are on the same level of importance and like the same scale because one of them has this like more emotional weight versus the like like the visual spectacle that the other one has, and it's like it works so well. It's awesome. It's I mean, I'm a little mad that you picked this because this was going to be my pick. But,
Sorry.
but it's okay. It's no, it is a fantastic book. It is for like somebody who's maybe interested in New Gods. First of all, it is a great like it doesn't throw out decades of like mythology,
Yeah.
but it also is like reader friendly for new people coming on. It's very firmly placed in like this moment of the DC universe because they're talking about, the death of Darkseid, which uh kind of is the beginning of this era of like what's happening in DC right now. It also references Birds of Prey because Barda is a part of Birds of Prey. So
Mm.
like it tells you like, hey, this is happening right now. This is in continuity. Um, I do think there are parts where where hopefully they expand on it later because if this is going to be new reader friendly, this does not really give new readers like an understanding of why Mr. Miracle and Orion are like why
Oh, the
they
trade?
like yeah, it doesn't talk about that at all. It hints at it.
Yeah.
Like there's a part where Mr. Miracle is, talking about like, yeah, I didn't get to have a dad, but you did, and it doesn't explain why that's a significant line, but
Yeah, that's true.
How come the New Gods never really go into depth about like that Scott Free is a prince, right? Like he's Highfather's son, right?
yeah, he should be, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like maybe there's a lot of he's just kind of rejected that because he doesn't feel very princely.
Yeah. And Orion is closer to the prince,
Yeah.
which is totally like a nurture versus nature sort of situation.
Mhm.
Does Highfather care about Scott Free at all? Have I ever seen him be like, my son? Or is he just like, I gave you up. You might as well just be Darkseid's son.
So I feel like that's referenced in this.
Okay, I don't want to spoil it then. If I'm asking these questions, maybe I've missed out, and at the end of this episode, maybe I'll tell you 3 books that I should have not read for the purpose of this episode that I should have read New Gods instead of.
Very niche.
Yeah. So okay, maybe I'll do that. Drew, I'm sorry it was taken, but what's your runner up?
Um, honestly, I read a lot of good stuff, so like it was almost kind of hard for me to pick, but I think that I am gonna go The Question all along the Watchtower.
You just got to talk Watchmen. Okay.
Yeah, but it's also a really good story in its own right.
Yeah.
So I really liked the first issue. Renee Montoya, this version of the question, is one of my favorite characters that like doesn't get um she doesn't get the spotlight as often as she should. And so I'm really glad that she has this book. And again, this is another thing like the the DC books right now are all very like locked into what like they're all connected,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They are really like making sure that that universe is a universe and not kind of just like a group of books that all maybe kind of take place in the same world. Um, so like, you know, they have her on the Watchtower. There's something going on with the Challengers of the Unknown, which is referenced in the Challengers book that came out this week. Like
Mm.
they talk about it directly.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean, it's so you brought up the Watchmen connection, which is of course has to be talked about because um, so I don't know if this is just a surface level thing, but I feel like it's not. I made a whole TikTok about this because like it's just it's something that feels like it's going to mean something later on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so obviously, like the connection to Watchmen is that uh, the original question was the inspiration for Rorschach.
Mm-hmm. In
And
our world, in behind the scenes, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So like you know, Alan Moore when he was writing Watchmen wanted to use the question, but he couldn't, so he made a character that's kind of like that with some more exaggerated personality traits. And that's who all the characters are. So and then the Ted Cord Blue Beetle was the inspiration for Night Owl. And
Captain Atom.
Captain Atom is Dr. Manhattan. And it's like there's you know there's all these DC then Charlton comics, but DC had just purchased all the Charlton characters or a handful of them anyway. Um,
Was it not all of them?
it wasn't all of them. It was
Who got left behind?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Um, but yeah, so like anyway, you know the so this version of the question is not the one that inspired Rorschach, but it is a variation of that. And she gets teamed up with Blue Beetle,
Mm-hmm.
the inspiration for Night Owl, and of course in Watchmen, like at some point in the history of the characters, Night Owl and Rorschach work together in New York. There's also the second Blue, well, in DC continuity, the second Blue Beetle, third Blue Beetle, I think,
Third.
actually,
Jaime
Jaime Reyes,
is third. Yeah.
who is part of the story. And then in this episode, in this issue, you know, they're trying to solve a murder or an attempted murder. Something fishy is going on in the Watchtower, and Renee is charged with like leading this team trying to find out what's going on. That's the main story. There's a part where she kind of like goes to, I guess they have like a bar in the Watchtower, and the bartender is Nightshade, who was the inspiration for Silk Spectre,
Right.
or at least partially the inspiration for Silk Spectre, because there's also some Black Canary in there. But it's just like it's so it feels like it means something, but I don't know what yet.
Yeah.
They also s- part of this story involves a cat that looks like
Yeah.
Bubastis, Ozymandias's genetically altered
Lynx.
lynx
Yeah.
from Watchmen. They mentioned something about the Atom Project,
Which is
or
coming
the
up. It's the new series.
yeah. So like that's Captain Atom. Um, it's all it all comes back to Watchmen. Also, the title "All Along the Watchtower" is that's from a Bob Dylan song, which is referenced in issue 10 or 11 of Watchmen. So it's all there, but
Mm.
we haven't figured out how the pieces are put together yet. all that aside, the story itself is very good.
Yeah,
This is
I read issue one. I just should say that. Ethan, did you read this one?
I did not, but I'm going to now because this really sold me.
Mm,
I'll let you continue, but yeah, I'm on board.
okay, all right. Just
it is really cool. I mean, it also is just like so this is written by Alex Segura, who mainly does detective stuff, which is why it's cool that he is getting to do this. Um, I've followed his career for a while now. He was like a marketing guy at DC for a long time, and
mm,
then like he left and he went to I think Archie, and he
mm.
worked at Archie for a little bit.
Not too
And
many detective stories in Archie.
well, yeah, but see, he wasn't a writer. He wasn't
Oh,
writing.
okay.
He was just working like in marketing or social media or something like that. And then eventually he started writing his own novels. And after writing novels, he was like, you know, I want to write comics. That's like the thing that I want to do.
Yeah.
And so he was doing some like one shots and stuff like that. Um, he's had a really interesting career. Right now, he's doing not just this, but he's also doing Dick Tracy at Mad Cave.
Okay.
Uh, I think he co-wrote the Archie Meets the Ramones with Matthew Rosenberg a few
Okay.
years back.
Yeah.
Uh, all that is to say, you can tell that he's just like, I want to use so many of these characters, and he's finding ways to put them in really fun ways. Like, um, this issue has uh uh it begins with like Animal Man having a conversation with what's his name, Tunky Tawny,
Talkie
the
Tawny.
Talkie
yeah,
Tony.
yeah, you know, from Shazam,
Yeah.
and they're just like walking around the Watchtower. uh
All along
yeah.
the
They're
Watchtower.
it's got the Blue Beetles, it's got the Challengers of the Unknown, the
Okay.
villain in this issue.
By the cover, at least, I see it's Eradicator.
Yeah,
But
Eradicator is in this.
okay.
Um, and again, like, I mean, there's so many other people in here that are like just people from like the outskirts of the DC universe
Yeah.
who you get to hang out with for a little bit. And it's really cool. It's clearly all connected to something bigger going on.
Yeah.
Um,
I I love what DC's doing right now, and especially because they're taking inspiration from Justice League Unlimited,
yeah,
which I thought that like if DC was going to do a Justice League Unlimited sort of thing, they would have done it by now in the last 25 years, but they didn't, and like so it was really weird to me. I was like, why now? After all this time, was there somebody like at DC that grew up with Justice League Unlimited that then was like, yes, now we're pushing this? Because they should. Why didn't they do this 10 years ago? Like, oh, it's because the New 52 messed up everything. That's right. Okay, never mind. That I
I
guess that
think
answers my question.
I think that it's just kind of like maintaining comics has to be like a comic book universe has
Oh
to
yeah,
be really strange. Like it's got to be really hard because like you want to sell new books, and everybody will tell you if you want to sell comics, you have to like if you want to sell comics to new people, to new readers, they can't be so confusing.
yeah,
And number one, I disagree with that. I think that you can sell people on new, you can sell to new people and not give up your continuity. But for a long time, people were kind of just like, we got to try this. We got to get new readers. So, I mean, it felt like everybody was kind of doing it. And now it feels like DC is like swinging back the other way,
yeah,
saying like, we're going to get the new readers if our stuff is just good. And part of that is that there's going to be this very like kind of, I don't know, liquid universe where everything is seeping into each other. And that way, if you hook them on one book, they'll say, "Oh, I want to know about that," and go to
Yeah.
the other book or something, and maybe it's marketing, maybe it's just trying a new approach. I don't know, but it's cool.
I I do want to move on, but I also think that I'm with you. I think that you can have flash and substance. That's the way I try to live my life, right? Like I don't try to like be like, well, I can't like you gotta reduce the quality to make things work. I think you can do everything you need to. You just gotta try harder. Um, I love all this interconnectedness. I do think though that people aren't a monolith. So when it's talking about like, oh, you want to bring in new just anybody in mainstream culture to like comics, you can do it many different ways and you're only going to get a portion each time because there are a lot of dumb people. There are a lot of people who can't Google things and they just want to just like have things spoon fed. Okay, fine. But there's other people who want to spend the time. Fair. Um, but I like what they're doing right now. And I think that the interconnectedness helps bring new readers and old readers. And I think that's what they're doing with the Superman movie. Is like they're trying to make you fall in love. If a character is only going to be on screen for like 30 seconds, they're trying to be like, they're going to have a moment. Hopefully you fall in love and you continue from there. So, for anyone out there who didn't know, the Superman trailer came out earlier today. So, I want to talk about my pick of the week, and then as usual, we'll rock it through everything. I want to say it's the Rockefellers number 2. I'm just gonna say it's the Rockefellers number 2 because that's the easiest way we can get through this whole format of everything, of this show. So the Rockefellers 2. I'm just loving this concept. It's from Image Comics. It's the Ghost Machine imprint, and under the Ghost Machine imprint, it's like a sub imprint called Family Odysseys, where this one and then the one with the angel and the demon baby, there's I forget what it's called, but I read that one like a week or two ago, and then there's this one. So Rockefellers 2 is about it's Phil of the future if an assassin was trying to kill them. Ethan, you know what's up? You know what's up?
I just didn't see Phil of the future. It took me off guard.
I think I'm too old to understand that reference.
You're not older than me.
I am definitely older than you are.
Are you older than me? Okay, the video, nobody can see us. Flash it on your fingers how old you are, because I'm not putting my age out there on the internet. I'm still Gen Z.
I don't have enough fingers to do that.
No, not all at once. So I am. People out there listening to the podcast, they don't know. They're not gonna be. They're like, oh, that Dimithri guy. He looks so young. He's still a baby.
You do look young. That's why I thought that I was.
You're younger.
I am.
Right? There we go. Old, so don't play old fogey. Don't play old fogey with me.
I thought I thought that you were like 28.
For the people out there, you're right. I am younger than 28. You're for the people out there. Anyway,
I thought you were 28, not 27.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Phil of the Future was a Disney Channel show about.
That's why I didn't watch. That's why I didn't know about it.
Okay.
I've never watched a Disney Channel original.
I also have a sister who's 4 years younger than me, so do the math. But like, so we used to watch a lot of shows together, right? So, Phil of the Future is about a family that comes from the future to modern day, and they have gadgets and knowledge and whatever. It's a sitcom, so they don't get into it. But this is like a sci-fi action family comic, right? And essentially, the first issue is them on the run from this like robot assassin, and then they jump into this time thing, this time machine, and they come back to our time, and that's kind of what the whole thing's about. So it's like witness protection in a way.
I picked up that first issue and I just haven't read it yet, but it's got a banger creative team.
Yeah, it's Tomasi.
Pete Tomasi and Francis Manipul. I love Francis Manipul's
Oh
art,
yeah,
and he
his
doesn't do.
flash work is so good.
He wasn't doing interiors for a while. Um, I was so stoked that he was going to be doing detective like a long time ago.
Yeah.
And he did like a few issues of the interiors, and then somebody else took over, and he was just writing.
And then he
And
jumped over to the Flash, right?
he did Flash first.
Oh, he did Flash first. Okay.
Yeah. And he did Trinity for a little bit.
Is that the weekly Trinity, the weekly comic?
No, that was Matt Wagner's book. I can't remember who the writer of this was.
Okay.
May have been, I can't remember, but it was like New 52 era.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Well, it is a good book, and it's a good creative team,
yeah,
and
I need to sit down and read it because
it's
it's
fun.
it's two people in comics who I really like who I haven't seen in a while.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was what sold it for me was just their names being on the front.
Yeah. This issue is about it's like a Christmas Eve or whatever issue. So like the dad's in his like laboratory under like in his basement, and he's like, "Oh, I thought it was yesterday," and then they're like, "No, you've been down there. You haven't come up like in a day, so it's a day later." So they're like, "We gotta go for a Christmas tree." It's a very family oriented book, but literally in the first issue, somebody dies.
Mhm.
So like it's a family action movie. Somebody said it's kind of like Meet the Robinsons in a way. Like I don't know. There's a couple of different things where it's very similar vibes.
It looked to me like a riff on Fantastic Four from the cover. I don't know how
Not
much.
at all.
Okay.
In a way that the father is kind of like Reed, but that's just because he's a scientist father.
Okay.
Sure. I mean, if you want to see it as like Reed, Sue, Ben being the grandpa, and then Val and Franklin, I
Well,
guess.
I was thinking it more of along the lines of like science-based superhero family.
Yeah, it's Phil of the Future. It's Phil of the Future, except with like, but they're not super powered people. They just have gadgets and stuff.
Gotcha.
You know. Anyway, that's my pick of the week. But my runner-up was Ultimate Spider-Man, issue number 12. I really liked this issue. Did you guys read this one?
I did, yes.
My shop got shorted on their
That's right.
Marvel stuff, so
Well,
I haven't been able to read it yet. I'm behind on that book anyway. I need to catch up.
this issue had no powers for them, and then no villains for the most part, like unless count whatever. But it was all about like the supporting cast.
Hmm.
And I don't want to spoil anything. Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a shocker at the end where it almost seems like a season finale, like because it's the 12th issue. It's been a year, right? And
I thought you weren't going to spoil anything. You just said the shocker shows up.
No, no.
But
Not the Spider-Man villain shocker, but it's I don't know. It's basically it's a Christmas episode where it seems like it's just a standalone episode, but they're moving towards something else. And you get a couple of the Watsons. You get Peter and MJ's kids. You get J. Jonah Jameson and Uncle Ben, and there's a lot of old people wanting to fuck old people. Just horny old people. There's a lot of horny old people actually in this issue, right? Right? Do you think?
They need representation.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that this was the comic that was bold enough to do it.
How'd you feel about this one?
I really enjoyed it. Like, I love good dialogue, and this definitely felt like, as you mentioned, like a grounded like Christmas episode. My mind was going to, even though it didn't have the same obvious like tension / horror of the bear episode. It's one of my favorite episodes of TV where they have the family dinner. But I really enjoy family dynamics and people, how they like interact with each other. And I think that that's something that oftentimes writers might kind of skew away from because they feel obligated to kind of like have action, which obviously that's the medium that they're in. But to me, that shows that you have faith in your characters and the story where you can just like have them talk like they're regular people. Because to me, that's what grounds them so that when they do go and do the extraordinary things that we know they're want to do, it makes it all the more exciting. So yeah, I was very pleased with this issue.
What's also kind of cool is that like Ultimate Spider-Man, does a lot of things that are like, okay, these characters, sure. But then also kind of like cuts and like ducks and dodges and like tries a couple of new things. And I'll be honest, a character that popped into this that I didn't even know was a character and I just looked her up is, I didn't know Mary Jane had a sister.
I didn't either, but I'm not a Spider-Man expert. My knowledge mostly comes from the animated series.
I mean, I thought I knew about Spider-Man. I never for once, actually, truth be told, maybe it's just me, I never inquired about Mary Jane Watson's family other than her Aunt Anna. I never looked into her family dynamic.
That's interesting. Because I feel like kind of like comparing it to like a Lois Lane. Like I think of like General Sam Lane and like how I feel.
Oh, I love the Lanes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like even like Lucy, but there is this conversation that's happening online, and I don't know enough about Spider-Man to really jump into it, but kind of like how Mary Jane is being handled, I guess, in her spider power area versus how like Lois Lane is in her Superwoman era, which I feel like people are very responding to positively. And maybe that has like some groundwork that's there, like as to why like Mary Jane and her kind of like those that surround her maybe isn't as stable of a support system as like Lois Lane has, where like Lois Lane can, to me, like manage her own story. Once again, I can't speak on Mary Jane, but this is just from like the outsider's perspective.
Well, as someone who's reading Amazing Spider-Man right now, Mary Jane is dating a guy named Paul and had some children with him, kind of adopted or whatever, but they like disappeared and ceased to exist like 50 issues ago. But people hate Paul. Roughly speaking, people hate Paul. I think it's unfounded. I think people just want to see Mary Jane get with Peter Parker, so they're gonna hate on whatever boyfriend she has. And Paul is not that interesting, but like people are hating on him. And then people are hating on Mary Jane too. She has jackpot powers, not spider powers.
Okay.
But at the same time, like, she's not that interesting right now in Spider-Man. She just isn't, but she's interesting in Ultimate Spider-Man. And that's, I think, because they're denying her, like, her connection with Peter. And Marvel editorial just said, they came out like maybe a week ago, and they said Mary Jane can date Peter Parker, but she can never marry Peter Parker. And I think that's a problem.
Yeah, it's very limiting as a character. And I really feel like that holds them back. It's kind of going back to the conversation you were saying before about how comics don't necessarily, like, yes, they should be reader friendly to an extent, but not so much that it detracts from their rich history. I feel like the same thing with superhero couples. We have this idea that they have to remain like the status quo. And I feel like that has been proven time and time again to be a lie. People love Superman and Lois. People love seeing Clark and Lois together as like a married couple. And I feel like after a certain period of time, it's giving that couple that respect of saying like, hey, you've been through all this stuff. We're just going to have you be married. And I feel like this is one of the weak spots of Batman, actually, because I would love for Batman and Catwoman to just be together at this point. Because once again, they've been together for decades. And it's just like, how much can you do the cat and mouse, cat and bat thing? And it's the same thing, I would assume, with Spider-Man and Mary Jane, to say that they're never going to be together, they can date. It kind of almost takes the fun out of it. It's one thing if, like, yes, their relationship never gets to that point, but to say, no, here's a hard rule that can't happen, it's very limiting in terms of, like, story development.
It reminds me of when DC, like, these editorials should not make these absolutes, because first things first, editors change every 5-10 years. Like, they always change their mind, so who's to say what is, in effect? But it reminds me of when they said Batman can't play with a cat, you know? And people were like, no, Batman is the best at everything. He should be the best at playing with cats. He should spend a lot of time and effort into his relationships, you know.
Are you speaking euphemistically?
Yes.
Okay. Then I know what you're talking about. For a second I thought you were being literal, and I was just like, what the hell are you talking about?
I mean, DC editorial came out, right? And then they were like, Batman does not play with cats.
Are you talking about the heroes don't do that?
Yeah, something like that, right?
Yeah. Listen. We need to clarify something.
Mm-hmm.
That was not DC editorial. That was Warner Brothers who said that.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Tell your
I can't have you besmirching my bosses.
Tell your bosses. I retract my statement. It was not them.
You know what's funny is that like the week that happened, I went on a date with a girl and we talked about that. And she was like, I feel like Batman would have a chip on his shoulder and he would need to be really good at it, like for his own ego. And I was just like, yeah, that's Batman.
You see it as an ego thing. I see it as like, I think it's the perfect intersection between being like having to be skilled at something just in case it comes up, right? And then also the fact that he is compassionate, you know?
Sure, he is, but I think that there's a lot. Listen, I don't want to derail the conversation too much, but
yeah,
I think that there's a lot about Batman that is based in ego and his needing to be the best and smartest person in the room for his own sake.
I think there is that, but there's also the fact that like he can't be caught lacking, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not necessarily that he has to be the best, is that if he's not the best and something comes up that needs him to be, then he's caught with his pants down.
And I think they play
proverbially.
I think that they play into each other because if you're Batman, right? And you are
who's to say I'm not, but continue.
If you're Batman
mm-hmm.
and you're like very skilled at everything for a purpose,
yeah.
Eventually you're just gonna be like, I'm pretty good at everything.
Right.
That's gonna build up.
As we move on from this, I just want to know what sensei taught Bruce Wayne as he traveled the world. What sensei did he train under that taught him how to play with a cat?
I don't know, but I can tell you that they were French.
It was Henry Ducard?
Liam
Neeson? In Batman Begins?
It wasn't a man.
Okay. I mean, probably. Wait, isn't there a French in Batman the Knight? Isn't there like a French cat burglar lady?
Yeah. Must have been her.
That's a little on the nose. Pun intended. But there's so many layers to this conversation going on right now. One day, 100 years from now, people are going to take this podcast and they're going to teach it in English class and they're going to dissect everything that we're talking about. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about Absolute Batman #3. Did we all read that one?
Yes.
But none of us picked it for the pick of the week. I thought it was great, but also
I
also did too.
You know,
it has been a solid read from the first issue to the second to the third as well. And it's not a slight against Absolute Batman, but I feel like it gets so much praise, rightfully so, that it kind of feels like an easy thing to say. Not to, Scott Snyder is one of my favorite writers. He's amazing. I love his big swings because there's almost so much like intention put into what he does. And issue 3 was another banger, like with Catwoman and getting like young Selena with young Bruce. I absolutely loved their story and like how she's kind of like inspiring young Bruce and like teaching him the way because he's not able to cope after the death of his father. It was just a very like well-written, well-conceived story that felt like you really understood this version of Batman, and even how it like tied into his like main continuity origin, only kind of like reversed in that like he's seeing the Zorro movie like after the tragedy, and how she's relating her kind of like cat aesthetics of like cat style eyes forward of just like how he needs to operate, and then how that relates to him being older and confronting with this enemy that seems undefeatable in Black Mask, and how he's having to possibly compromise his own morals when his father specifically told him not to be that lion. So yeah, this was just a very well constructed story.
The lion is watching him as Commissioner Gordon is taking a young Bruce and running away. I just realized in that opening shot, I think, where it says the zoo.
I love that shot. It's such a
I
poetic scene.
I've really enjoyed that. I hope that this is something that keeps going throughout the series, but it's definitely going to continue for the first like this 6-issue arc that they're doing. But how the title pages are the double spread, and each one of them has that kind of like thing in the foreground that's silhouetted, and then like something that is very important to the issue, that's just very front and center. I really like that they're sticking with that and just continuing to do that. It gives the book a lot of identity of its own, sets it apart from like a normal Batman book, and really just kind of a normal DC book. Stuff like that, Uh, I mean, that in itself is something that I think that you would normally see in an Image book. But I also think Nick Dragotta's art is something that you would normally see in an Image book. And like the way that I keep noticing it, and it feels like it's breaking all the rules of what I know about comic book creation, where there are a lot of panels on the page and many of them are small, but they're not like convoluted in their layout. They're not hard to understand what's going on in each panel. They're very deliberately placed. They're using the page very, very well. And it's so it's so much fun to read because of that. It's a great story. It is told, if we think of these as like chapters in a longer running narrative. It also kind of feels like they're little short stories, on their own, which is really what a periodical is, but uh, structurally, or like the way that they're actually constructed. I see a lot of like how I learned about writing and how I learned about like literary analysis in short prose in the way that Scott Snyder writes, where he picks an image and he just kind of sticks with it for a whole issue. And in this case, it was stuff related to cats, and vision, and things like that. Like he kind of is finding ways to make all of these ideas and this imagery work together. And you don't see a lot of that kind of care taken in comics, um, in the writing, and like in the actual like the text. And it's something that I really appreciate. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I really like that these issues are told from Alfred's perspective. I think that is a fun way to distinguish it from, again, other Batman books.
And Alfred and him aren't friends.
Yeah.
And like they're antagonistic in a way. So I mean, we'll move on to the rest of the stuff, but like I'm so excited for the first trade of this to come out, in a way that, although I love Ultimate Marvel and I read it every week, I never thought to myself like, oh, I'm gonna buy the first trade of Ultimate Spider-Man when it comes out so I can like give it to friends as presents.
Yeah.
I want to give these absolute books as presents
Yeah.
to friends. but I need to give it as like a trade. Like, because I want a full story, or at least a full arc, to give it.
Yeah, I mean, the Absolute Universe to me feels like a cultural reset. I mentioned this before somewhere, but it just feels like I haven't been this excited for DC in a long time. I'm not saying that there hasn't been like really cool stuff. There's been moments where like, oh, that excites me, but like across the board, from the all in comics to Absolute Universe, everything is like firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
And this is a very like rare time, and so I completely understand it. Like the trade paperbacks, I'm going to pick up Absolute Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman like again and like read the whole thing through, just because what they're saying feels also very like prescient and like needed for this time that we're in. I'm not going to get fully into it because I can ramble, but those are my thoughts.
I'm with you.
I think that those trades are going to, when they do eventually come out, those trades are probably going to be like really high quality format. They're going to put a lot of work into those. I am hoping, if I buy something in singles, I don't usually buy the trade, also, but I might get trades if they have like scripts in them, or like excerpts from the scripts, because I really want to see how these all three so far have been written. I want to peek into that.
I will say that I want the fastest trade possible for when, like, however fast they knew. I don't need the extra stuff right now. Release it in trade paperback by like in the first 5 issues or first 6 issues. Like give it a month or two, release that trade. Make sure they're in Targets and Walmarts, because some comics are there. Like sometimes they have it in the book section. Like make sure they're on those things, just those issues. And then do a deluxe hardcover, after like
I wouldn't
2
be
arcs
surprised
or something. Have those scripts in there.
I wouldn't be surprised if like
there needs to be a push, is what I'm saying, because this is
agree
real
with you.
shit.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Absolute books have like regular trades and the compact like day one.
They need to, yeah. They need to be able to fit in, in purses, They need to be able to be fit in like easy access. Anyway, I'm getting fired up right now, but we need to go through all the rest of the stuff, and we'll do things like really fast. But I'm gonna hot take. Fuck you to the new 52. I feel like there are editorial decisions that are made, DC, Marvel, whatever, that are made when they're like, we can't have our cake and eat it too. We gotta pick something and go with it. We either reboot a whole universe or keep old continuity, or like whatever. You can have your cake and eat it too. And I think DC, for some reason, somebody is to blame in a good way for DC firing on all cylinders right now. Not only all cylinders, they've doubled their cylinders. They have All In, they got Absolute, they got the movies coming out. Come on, like, whoever said you can't do it all is wrong, because they're proving you can do it all.
There had to have been some kind of restructuring, and I don't follow this stuff closely at all.
I'm blaming it all on you.
There's got to be something going on. But yeah, I mean, they're like,
and sorry, a Jon Stewart bronze sculpture, which I have yet to visit. It's very close to me. I need to go visit and take pictures.
I didn't know that was a thing. That's awesome.
In Burbank, up near DC Entertainment Building, I think. There's like 3 statues so far in that area of LA.
You always have to run really quickly when we finish these, but I got some inside baseball talk.
We'll end early just to be able to talk about that. So here, for the sake of time, let's just get through everything that we need, that we read. Rocket Fire, everything.
I thought it was called Rocket Fellers.
Rocket Fellers.
Boom, gotcha.
Boom. I got told. All right. TVA issue number 1. I read most of it. I don't like that they bridged the MCU with the comics. That's my personal opinion. I'll let Ethan talk about it, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, I feel like this could have worked better. I will admit, I'm a sucker when like superheroes meet like bureaucratic government. I love that combo for some reason. I haven't fully inspected why, but it's true. So I like that aspect of it. I like how the TVA is set up. I will say that I wish that the team isn't working for me in the way that I want it to. Like Spider-Gwen is very cool. Gambit, like, multiverse, like I love Gambit, but something just feels off. I haven't put my finger on it yet. I'm not too mad at like the connection between the MCU, because like I kind of had that with that Titans like blood pact thing, and like it can work. But yeah, my main issue is with like the team lineup. I'm not really understanding and feeling it the way that I want to.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't like that this is just essentially an MCU book, which is fine. I like the MCU. I just think this is too much too fast. I don't get, like, we haven't had live action Gambit. Well, I guess in Deadpool we have. Well, whatever. I don't know. That doesn't even count either. Anyway, point being is it might have been a step too far. It's trying to be Exiles. Just bring back Exiles. Marvel got greedy because they were like, Exiles is working, but it is just X-Men characters. So they've slowly been trying to take the Exiles concept and make it like for everyone and make it an Avengers style multiversal team. And I hate that idea that they took from Exiles, which is an X-Men property, and they're trying to use it for the dumb Avengers.
Cultural appropriation.
In a way, you know? You can't be out there talking shit on mutants and then stealing their concepts.
That part.
Marvel screwed over X-Men comics for so long, and now it's like, come on. Anyway, Marvel, shape up or ship out. That's what I say. Also, I love Marvel. I'm not saying, Marvel, if you want to do any deals with me, please. But just be better, I think, is what it is. All right.
180 is crazy.
Psylocke number 2. I know that's one of Ethan's books. I didn't get to read this one. I read the first one, but
I really enjoy Psylocke. She's a very complex, interesting character. She's out saving kids. There's also this character that was very interesting, to say the least, Shinobi Shaw. The art looks amazing. Her side blades, she like is putting children to sleep in a very safe manner, but she's looking like a badass while doing it. This was a great book.
I'm also very happy that Psylocke is a playable character in Marvel Rivals. And I haven't been able to talk about it, but like, it's been fun.
I'm happy with you.
Thank you. Nightwing 121. Did we all read this one?
Yep.
Yes.
I like where this is going right now. I love the idea that like gangs in DC are not like the gangs that we have in real life. They're themed around, like, they're very like comic booky, right? There's like that teddy bear gang and whatever. And like, I like it. I'm liking where this is going. We'll see. That's me. You guys got quick thoughts?
I've also been really enjoying it. There's the plot is kind of what I expect from a Nightwing book, but there's character moments that are great.
Yeah, that's the shortest I've ever heard you talk, Drew. So thank you.
I was burping at the same time.
So that's the secret. Ethan, you got any quick thoughts?
Quick? Yeah, I try to be quick, but I'm not as good. Yes. This was a very strong book. I'm liking these first few issues. I really like how Nightwing is inspecting himself a bit deeper. Like he's going into it with a certain mindset, and then he's being challenged and having to look at these people in a different way and realizing how similar they actually are. And that's my time.
Awesome. Green Lantern, Green Arrow, World's Finest Special. I liked it. It took me a couple pages for me to realize it was set in the past, and it was it takes place during the hard traveling heroes sort of era.
It's on the cover.
I know.
Tales from a hard traveling era.
I know. I missed that. But then I saw Deathstroke, and they were like, they didn't know who Deathstroke was, and he was in a different costume, and I was like, all right, fine, I get it now. I didn't need this one. It was fun, but I didn't need it. And it ends abruptly.
On the title.
What?
It tells you in the not too distant past, Hal Jordan and Oliver Queen set out for an untold tale and then
I didn't read that part.
That's page 1.
I skipped the little synopses in the beginning of books. I maybe I shouldn't, but I
clearly,
you know. But then it abruptly ends, and they're like, "All right, well, see what happens in an issue of a comic like 30
It
years
came
ago."
out in 1980.
Yeah, I was like, "All right, okay, fine." You guys have any quick thoughts or?
It was a fun book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. It's actually a little baffling to me why it came out.
Yeah,
Because like they're not. I don't know. They're not promoting anything, and it's just kind of like, hey, Jeremy Adams, do you want to write a story that takes place in the past using these two characters and also the
yeah,
Flash? Sure, why not? Yeah, it's like I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just kind of like it was a surprise.
yeah. It's also like, unless they're trying to push Deathstroke, because and I don't think you guys read Titans 18, right?
Right.
Or Dark Knights of Steel All Winter.
I'm gonna
I
wait
am
till
behind on that book.
But Ethan hasn't either.
No.
Okay, so I mean, real quick, I'm just banging these out. Titans 18 has a appearance by Deathstroke, and Deathstroke is a main character in Dark Knights of Steel All Winter #6. Titans 18 was good. I liked it. The art is interesting, but I still like the art. And then Dark Knights of Steel All Winter #6 finishes off pretty good ending, but it wraps up pretty quick. So it isn't as satisfying, but you know the story continues because it's like a spin-off of Dark Knights of Steel. So
Was this the last issue of that?
of that one, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I gotta read I
Yeah.
loved the first two issues, and I picked up every one. I got behind. I gotta, you know,
Yeah,
there's only so many hours to read.
I get it. And you're writing too. For anyone out there who doesn't know, congrats to Drew.
Thanks.
Yeah, did an amazing job.
Shut up.
I
Thank
feel
you.
bad to say that I haven't read it yet. And I'm sorry. It's been crazy, but I will read it, and I want to. I want to support you. So,
It's a must read.
and next time I
Thank
see
you.
you, I'm gonna get the cover signed. So, Batman, Superman World's Finest #34. Anyone read it?
I must not have known this came out because I didn't pick it up.
Oh, it was a standalone book, and
Are they done with? So they're done with the Eclipso stuff?
oh, maybe they just took a break this week. I don't know, because I don't remember the Eclipso stuff ending.
I don't really. Yeah.
This was a standalone single issue, and it was fine. It was fine. If you like Jimmy Olsen being Elastic Lad, if you like Jimmy Olsen and Barbara Gordon and Crypto and Ace teaming up, then cool. That's what this book's about. So, Challengers of the Unknown #1. Quick thoughts?
It's really cool.
Okay.
It's really cool. You know what's funny is I don't know why. I don't know why. Ethan, Mr. Terrific has your voice now.
Huh?
I don't know why. When I read Mr. Terrific, I read it in your voice.
Okay, I'll take it.
So, I was reading, he's in this issue,
Is
and I was
he?
just like, sounds like Ethan. I don't know why.
I mean, he's the smartest man in the DCU, so I'll take that.
Yeah.
I wish somebody sounded like me. Drew's gonna come at me and be like, "Yeah, Mr. Mixospitalik sounds just like Dimithri in my head," and it's like, "Oh, cool."
Ambush.
All right.
In my head, I could
Gilbert
tell you.
Godfrey. It's Gilbert Godfrey.
It's not Gilbert Godfrey.
No.
Listen, when I wrote that video game, Mixospitalik is like the villain in the game.
Yeah.
They were just like, we don't know who we're gonna get because Gilbert Godfrey died, and so they were like, we don't know who we're gonna get. So just like try to think of some people who you might, throw some suggestions out, comedians. And so
John Mulaney.
When I was writing it, I was like hearing voices in my head until I tried to like figure out how they sounded, like on the page.
Yeah.
And for me, Mixospitalik is Tim Robinson from I Think You Should Leave.
What?
And I
Okay.
can't get that out of my head and now.
All
and
right.
they actually offered it to him.
Oh.
He turned it down.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, moving on, because I guess my voice doesn't matter to Drew at all. the Batman and Robin Year 1, number 3. I read issues 1 and 2. Still good?
Yeah. I love the combination of Wade and Somni.
Yeah.
They could publish the phone book and I'd be like, this is cool.
I would love to see Somni draw the phone book. That'd be cool. Ethan, you didn't read this one, right?
I did not. I'm planning on like reading it once it all comes out.
Okay. Wonder Woman number 16. This one was a really fun one. Even
I loved it.
Is the characterization off? I don't know, but like it was fun.
I don't care about that. I do not care about that at all. I feel like characters are malleable. You can do whatever you want with them to make it fit your story. That's for the most part. There's some things I'll concede you can't do. But
wait, question. Do you believe that Etrigan, the demon, should always speak in rhyme or only sometimes?
Yes, I do. I personally do.
I think that he should.
That's the point. I
think he should always speak in rhyme because if Alan Moore does something, it has to stay.
Oh, so you do believe? Okay. I'm yes, he should always speak in rhyme, not just when he's like something's important or whatever. I've seen some writers do that where he speaks normal and then sometimes in rhyme.
Yeah.
No, Etrigan needs to spit bars at all times. To me, that's ingrained in his. And to me, that would be the fun part of writing Etrigan. Is like be Shakespearean, like the whole point of his. And also, I just love the duality of this demon speaking so beautifully. That contrast.
There's a story reason for it. He has to speak in rhyme because that's the level of demon that he is.
Yeah,
speaks in rhyme.
Rhyming demons are more powerful, right?
Yeah, he got escalated to that, and then now he has to speak in rhyme.
Yeah, there was a cool Shadow Pact storyline where like they like went to hell and they like discussed the like order of demons. It's a great read.
Okay. Wonder Woman 16 is all about really Detective Chimp versus the Sovereign, and like I want that guy dead. I want not Detective Chimp, but the Sovereign.
I liked this issue so much, and like the pairing of them together, and I liked the characterization, the way that Detective Chimp is written.
Yeah.
I liked it so much that I don't know if Detective Chimp is British, but in my head he is. And I read this out loud to myself, doing the voices.
Okay.
Sitting on my couch here eating Taco Bell at the same time.
Yeah.
Because I'm a man of distinguished tastes.
A class act.
Power Fantasy number 5. Drew, I read the first couple pages. I didn't get to read this one though.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot of lore to this book.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it. It is like it's dense. And there are times where it's like it takes me midway through the book to realize that like it takes me midway through the book to realize that like I'm being thrown into something where I'm supposed to be figuring it out like at the point where I do. So for the first few pages I'm kind of like what's happening?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean I still really like it. It's intricate and it's poignant and deep, and it's also very pretty to look at.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right. And I think I got the rest of the books. Spectacular Spider-Man number 10. I don't know. I've just been waiting a long time for this series of like Miles and Peter teaming up. And although there are highs and lows in this series, like I still love it. I don't know what to say. This isn't the strongest issue, but like I love Miles and Peter. So like a team up book is all great. Plastic Man No More number 4. Did anyone else finish it?
I'm behind on it, and I know I need to catch up because that first issue was awesome.
I'm behind too.
It is weird and like, okay, cool ending, but also it's an alternate universe, and I don't care about the alternate universe stuff. Like, if it doesn't factor in, it doesn't matter to me. And although I like the story, and I'm sorry, maybe it's a slap in Drew's face, but like, I don't know. I just, in the end, like when it ends, so I'm like, okay, so now it's over. So now, okay, all the stories, like they don't matter then at that point. So just know what
But
you're
if
getting
you
into, you know.
but if you got something out of it, if you were entertained and if you enjoyed it, then it did matter.
I mean, yes, of course. If I enjoyed it, it didn't matter, and I did enjoy it. But what I'm trying to say is like the characters who die, in a way, didn't actually die. Okay.
But in the context of the story, I mean, because you can
Yeah.
apply that to like a bunch of like multiverse stuff. That's actually what I wanted to say about the question storyline and how that reminded me of Grant Morrison's Multiversity.
Yeah.
Like to me, that was
Yeah.
the last great like Watchmen like parallel that's ever been made, and so that's what's
Not
interesting
true.
me. What's that?
I said that's not true. It's not the last great one.
What's the last great
The
thing?
last great one is Peter Cannon Thunderbolt by Kieran Gillen and Caspar Wingard, which is a sequel to Watchmen.
Oh, okay. I have to check that out then.
It's great.
I'll add that to my list.
What a
But
dork.
but it's like how good a story is, that's what matters to me more, because otherwise you can say like, oh, if I go back too far into comic books, like this story is no longer relevant, but I still like reading, old trades, old issues. So
Yeah.
it's all about how good a story is.
I don't know. I just feel like unless you bring the characters back, if you revisit an alternate universe, sure. But like I never cared because I didn't grow up in the time period of Crisis on Infinite Earths, but I did not care about the idea that Supergirl dies. I didn't care because I already had the new Supergirl, essentially, right? Like I had an ongoing Supergirl at that time. I didn't care that in the past that Supergirl died. I don't care.
You can't put yourself in the perspectives of the characters who
I
don't
can
know.
in that moment, yes. 5 minutes later, why should I care? That's just the way that's the way I read,
the legacy of the character, even though I wasn't around during Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah.
It's like the reason why I gravitated towards DC more than Marvel personally is because there was this great sense of legacy. Seeing Superman holding Supergirl, I just saw the cover again today, and it still hits very hard.
Yeah.
And it's like, even when as a kid I didn't know the story, I still like felt this like cosmic pain that he was feeling, and there's just something, I don't know, extra normal about the situation about with the anti-monitor and how it destroyed worlds. I feel like I felt that even before I like read the story, and to me that's what kind of pervades everything else, is that energy and how it translates across the different eras to the different Supergirls.
You know what? I also don't like Crisis on Infinite Earths anyway. I'm just not a big fan. I like
What do you like?
Infinite Crisis is my favorite, but
I really
my
like
favorite
Infinite Crisis a lot.
So do you only like the stories that like you were around to experience in the moment?
No, that continue. For example, you know whose death in Crisis on Infinite Earths matters to me? Barry. Like that end, like whenever I see anytime they retell the story or whatever, there's the life story of the Flash, which was like ghost written by Mark Waid, but it's written by Iris Allen. It deals with like his death, and that matters to me. Like it just matters because like his legacy continues in Wally and everything. We're going off. We're running out of time, but like that's why New 52. I'm like, come on, you just wiped everything. You killed everyone.
But then that no longer matters by your logic, right? If it no longer matters, so you should have loved the New 52.
No, it's more like I can just forget about it, So it's better for my health that I forget about some of the random ass shit that happened in New 52. Like, I do not care. But that's just me personally. Helverine #1. Daken is back in his solo series. He is bonded with essentially a Ghost Rider. I thought it was cool, but I don't care about Ghost Rider, but I do like Daken, so I'll read it.
Tell us all the things you don't care about.
I like Ghost Rider on a team. I don't need to read like a solo Ghost Rider, so it is what it is. And then Batman 89 Echoes #5. I'm loving this series. Talk about a continuation of a previously dead universe. Tim Burton's Batman universe continues with the first Batman 89 miniseries, and then this is the second Batman 89 miniseries. So I'm all for it.
Did you like the Flash movie?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Did you like Batman in the Flash movie?
Yeah, yes, but I didn't like his ending of like, like he's just a hermit. Anyway, whatever. That's beside the point. We're getting off topic. Those are all the books that we read this week. I want to thank both of you guys so much for coming in and talk about all the comics that we read this week. Before we get going, Ethan, where can we find you? What do you got coming up? Anything you want to plug?
I'm on TikTok, Twitter, just joined Blue Sky, and Insta as always. Currently, nothing major coming up, but I will keep you posted.
Blue Sky. Yeah.
Blue Sky.
Okay. All right. Drew, what about you?
You can find me on TikTok. I also just recently joined Blue Sky. I'm relegating Blue Sky is like I'm not using it for anything personal. It's just like comic book writer stuff. So follow me there if that's a thing you're into. I don't know how to use it. I know how to use the platform. I don't know how to be that kind of person on the internet. Instagram, all the same name, Drew X Deficit. I'm around. New music coming out soon. It's already recorded. It'll be announced. But I got a record coming out next year. That's all I know.
Very nice. So what?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, cool. For anyone out there who wants to follow me personally, you can find me at This Is Dimithri. I'd recommend like Instagram. That's probably the easiest way to follow me specifically. But if you want to follow the Keeg, Comic Talk is just one of the many shows that we do on the Keeg. It is our most stable and most consistent one. We do Comic Talk every Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. But if you want to follow the Keeg, at the Keeg Show, pretty much everywhere. TikTok and Instagram are our two biggest ones. But we're also on Blue Sky now and Facebook and whatnot. So find us there at the Keeg Show / the Keeg Show, wherever. If you want to find your local comic shops, go to comicshoplocator.com. Find a local comic shop near you, support your local comic shops, and also support your local public libraries because they probably also have comics for you, and we should be supporting our local public libraries. That's pretty much it for everything. The internet is a weird place, so definitely follow all of us and stay in touch and stay tuned for more. Wherever you guys are at, like, comment, subscribe, follow, click the buttons, do your thing, write a review. Any podcast platform, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, whatever. We're all over the place. That's pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. Once again, I'm your host, Dimithri Perera, and this has been another episode of Comic Talk for the week of December 19th, 2024. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Peace out.